Gary shares the view of James that higher prioritization of robotaxis is likely to be viewed negatively by institutional investors. I worry that Elon has been too optimistic about the timing of zero intervention autonomy in the past and could be too optimistic again given significant legal and regulatory challenges. We'll likely get more insight about the $25,000 compact vehicle and robotaxi on the earnings call on April 23rd. But do we believe investors will take more risk off the table before then? Gary Black is basically predicting that Tesla stock is going to go down before then. And Gary believes that the percentage in terms of Tesla stock ownership of true institutional is 35 to 40%, excluding index funds. I think this actually makes a lot of sense. Tesla cannot make an EV that people want. Tesla cannot make a profitable EV. Tesla cannot make a profitable EV at scale. Tesla cannot make a profitable EV at scale that people want. And finally, Tesla cannot make a profitable EV at scale that people want that can drive itself. I believe this is going to be very wrong, and Farzad just yawns at all of these people. By the way, right now Waymo has one disengagement per 17,000 miles. In my Tesla, I probably have a critical safety related disengagement driving in the city every 10 to 15 miles. Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas weighed in on the situation as well. He released a new Tesla stock note. Jonas estimates that the $25,000 compact accounts for over 40% of incremental unit volume from 2024 through 2030. So a good chunk of Tesla 60 XPE. And by 2030, Jonas estimates that the $25,000 compact will account for 17% of total Tesla revenue and 10% of Tesla's earnings, basically. Morgan Stanley currently has a Tesla stock price target for the next 12 months of $310 per share, but only $62 come from the traditional EV business, $61 from ride and hailing mobility, presumably from a Tesla robotaxi fleet, and $104 from licensing of Tesla's FSD tech to other OEMs. Morgan Stanley also points to Tesla's production capacity utilization, which has steadily declined since its peak at the beginning of 2022. Right now, it sits at 73.8%. Morgan Stanley also expects Tesla to enter demon mode in response to potential cash burn and lower growth rates. We would expect Tesla to initiate cost-cutting efforts across the businesses, including potential headcount reductions and other actions to lower the break-even point. So we know that Tesla is in between two growth waves in auto, but now between new business model waves, says Morgan Stanley. While we do not expect Tesla to exit the auto business anytime soon, we do believe that company's scientific endeavors can and will over time expand far beyond the automotive paradigm. Perhaps the unexpected slowdown in the global EV market has accelerated this change. Many investors may not be prepared for the change. And I think Morgan Stanley makes sense here. While Model 2 may be a small part of the profit pool for Tesla, a pulling back from low-cost, high-volume products would be negative to near-term sentiment and is potentially thesis changing for many bulls, unless we keep seeing this incredible FSD progress. If you remember, Elon fairly recently said that every 2 weeks roughly, there should be significant FSD improvements rolling out, and that FSD should be shining really bright by late April or early May. V12.3.3 is incredibly impressive, so if that progress continues, my mind will be completely blown away. I think V12, the current version, is proof to many Tesla stock bulls, proof enough that FSD is going to be solved. And even if that cheaper vehicle is indeed going to be canceled or deprioritized and delayed by multiple years, I think a lot of them are still going to stay in Tesla stock. But based on how fast FSD progress is going to be made and what's going to happen with the next generation vehicle, that consolidation period could extend further. Keep in mind it is now 2024, so we need to add a bit of time to this chart. James Dama has a really good response to Gene Munster's skepticism about robotaxis having a hard time being approved by the local governments. James says, this is wrong. The biggest factor by far is making the tech work well. When it does, the benefits are too big and too visible to be masked or argued away. How many places prohibit fire, plumbing, hot water, electricity, light bulbs? I think regulatory challenges will be not small, and some areas are going to be much more difficult than other areas, but it will be overcome. I think this comment has some merit. After thinking about it some more, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the August 8th robotaxis unveil announcement Elon just threw out blindsided Tesla executives internally, and that there will be a mad dash over the next 4 months to make that event happen. Elon Musk reposted a link to his Masterplan Part 2. He says, I wrote this 8 years ago. He wrote, starting a car company is idiotic and an electric car company is idiocy squared. In that plan, he wrote, a lower cost vehicle than the Model 3 is unlikely to be necessary because of the third part of the plan described below. Autonomy. As the technology matures, all Tesla vehicles will have the hardware necessary to be fully self-driving with fail operational capability, meaning that any given system in the car could break and your car will still drive itself safely. Even once the software is highly refined and far better than the average human driver, there will still be a significant time gap varying widely by jurisdiction before true self-driving is approved by regulators. We expect that worldwide regulatory approval, and this is the most important part, will require something on the order of 6 billion miles or 10 billion kilometers, and Tesla already has 1 billion miles driven on FSD currently. So far, at least, none of these safety-related interventions would have actually hurt me. It would have damaged the car, but I would have been totally safe. For example, in one case, I would have bumped into a bus that was coming into my lane. So after FSD becomes safer than human driving, and with Tesla having about 6 million vehicles out there in the world, I think we'll get to 6 billion miles incredibly quickly, almost, well, not quite within a blink of an eye, but pretty close. Let's say we will have 2 million Teslas out of these 6 million Teslas driving on FSD temporarily because of free FSD trials and things like that. And let's say each one of them drives about 1,000 miles a month. Okay, that's 2 billion miles in 1 month. And by the time FSD becomes safer than human driving, keep in mind that Tesla's fleet by that time will have increased in size again. And some people will be driving just for the sake of testing out FSD in disbelief that this actually works, further increasing the accumulation of FSD miles driven. James has a few more comments to say about the robotaxi versus compact. This post is not intended to debate the strategy. This post is intended to address this argument. Robotaxi and compact are the same car. Well, he says the robotaxi requires FSD to be close to, if not at level 4 to level 5, basically needs to be safer than human driving pretty much everywhere. Would be targeted to the US market, will be purpose-built and designed as a taxi, probably doesn't need a ton of production capacity. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, if FSD is really safer than human driving, there will be a lot of demand. The compact, on the other hand, of course, doesn't require FSD at all, should be targeted to Asia and Europe, would be designed as a consumer car, needs a lot of production capacity and a lot more complex supply chain to support it, which probably requires a lot more factory suppliers, etc. So James believes that there will be a night and day difference between these two vehicles, even though they will be built on the same chassis. But also to that, I would say, which vehicles were ramped quickly by Tesla? The Model 3 refresh in China, very smooth. And the Model Y. Why? Because it shared the same chassis with the Model 3 and a lot of the same parts too. So just because there would be probably some fairly big differences, it does not mean that the scaling of the other compact vehicle that's not a robotaxi is going to be incredibly slow and difficult. And someone's confused. Wasn't every Tesla supposed to be a robotaxi? Yes, and any Tesla can run FSD, but this is designed specifically to be driverless. all Teslas made today have manual controls. And so Omar says, I worry that the Tesla robotaxi could delay the compact crossover that will be produced on the same production line as the robotaxi using many of the same parts. Now, Omar says he has spoken to the Tesla team and they are so sick of everyone calling that compact vehicle a Model 2 that they are prioritizing production of the robotaxi first. If people don't stop calling it the Model 2, it may be cancelled entirely. Please refer to the compact as a Tesla Q instead, which is code for Tesla Bear. Omar can definitely be a comedian. Some of his posts are pretty funny. Sawyer's wondering, what will Tesla name the robotaxi? I think this is a pretty good name. Tesla Innovative Transportation Service. They can shorten it if they want to. I have also seen some people express similar sentiments to this one. Elon killed Tesla yesterday. He wanted to make this bet with the why. This is a do or die decision for the company, not worth putting all eggs in one basket, even if the tech could get there soon. Unlikely. The legal and regulatory challenges are unpredictable because, of course, there's no way to easily add a steering wheel to a vehicle built to be steered through a wire, which means the steering wheel does not need to be directly connected to the wheels. What I'm saying is, in theory, with a Tesla robotaxi, you probably could buy a steering wheel for $69. This one probably would work. Plug it in through one of the USB ports that you can find in a Tesla vehicle, and voila! You can drive your vehicle. By the way, it comes with the pedals too. There's no way that Tesla could make a solution that would actually work as a thing to be added to the car after it leaves the factory. However, it will be, I think, to some degree important how the vehicle will look. I mean, if it looks like a bus, yeah, consumers probably would not want to buy that.